Do you know you should be following up with potential clients, but just can't get yourself to do it no matter what you try? Hi everyone, I'm Jimmy Mitchell and I help people like yourself with ideas and ways to put more money in your back pocket. And in this video, I talk about my experience with overcoming follow-up reluctance and some of the ways that you can do it too. So let's get into it. The next question, which is from Nate in Perth, in my hometown, he mentions, you talk a lot about sales and you mentioned how follow-up is super important. Now I'm struggling with following up proposals and I'm not sure why I'm not following up when I should, even though I know I should. Do you have any tips or ideas that can help? Nate, fantastic question. And again, I'm exposing myself here and burying my neck a bit, but I used to really, and I mean really struggle with following up. It was my Achilles heel of all the things. I can get people to talk to me. This is back in Bokeman days, back when I was selling machinery. I sucked at following up. I would sit here, and I'm sure you're talking about this as well, Nate. You sit there and you go, I know I should be following up. I know I should be picking up this thing and calling the customer and asking what their thoughts are on my proposal. But it feels like there's some like barrier, physical barrier stopping you from doing that. And that call reluctance is a real thing. And a lot of that's got to do with what happened to you as a child, as you believe, because I actually got professional help to get me out of that not being able to follow up because it was affecting my livelihood. So I treated it as such. I'm like, okay, well, I can't do this. I need to be able to do this if I'm going to do sales. And what it stemmed with me, and it could be different for you, but it could be worth a starting point for you to exploring this, is a lot of where this following up and reluctance, because you know what it's like. There is people out there that are super comfortable picking up the phone and following up and cold calling and stuff. They have like no aversion to it. And they just look at people like us and go, what do you worry about? What's the worst that can happen? But that doesn't help, right? So I'm going to try and give you some actionable advice that will actually help you and what I did to get over it. So I found out that the reason I didn't follow up with people was because I had this subconscious ingrained thought process when I was a kid. And it's not my dad's fault. I'm not blaming my dad. It's just the state of affairs. When I was a kid, my dad had this really bad habit of going, if I, like around Christmas time, right? I'd be asking, presents and things like about presents and stuff. And he goes, if you keep asking, you're not going to get anything. Right? And now you think about that statement. We've all heard it in our lives. If you don't stop asking about this, you're not going to get an ice cream. If you don't stop asking about this, you're not going to get a chocolate. If you keep asking, we're going to go home. Now, almost all of your personality is developed by the time you're 7. So if you've been told all your life, you ask for things, you're not going to get them. You can kind of understand why it's very difficult to pick up a phone and go, can I ask you about this? Because your immediate thought process is that if I ask, I'm not going to get it. So you kind of just hope and wish. Once I understood that, I was able to unpack that a little bit more and build some exercises to help me come over that. And the way I got over it is because I still feel this. I still now to this day look at a phone and go, oh my God, I have to follow this guy up. And it makes me uncomfortable. I have never been comfortable with doing it. I have a very high tolerance to it now. And that's the goal, is like acknowledging that it's not something that's ever going to be natural to you. So how do you build a high tolerance to being uncomfortable picking up the phone? So how do you build a high tolerance to this stuff? Well, unfortunately, it's just getting in the saddle and doing it. And counseling helps too, to be fair. Counseling helps a lot with that, to unpack and rewire the brain. But let's say you're trying to do actionable things that can help you now. Picking up the phone and building a tolerance to it is the only way to get over it. The best way to build up a tolerance is simulating it. Simulating it is the single best way to build the tolerance, where there's no cause and effect to the actions. So this is going to require a little bit of help from friends. But what you're going to do is you're going to get a friend on the phone and you're going to follow up proposals with them. Pick a person that is holding you accountable or vice versa and go like, once a day, I'm going to call you. I'm going to send you a proposal, and then the next day I'm going to call you, and you're going to throw scenarios at me, and I'm just going to practice hearing what you're hearing. What is stopping you physically doing this from a chemical psychological perspective is fight or flight. You think of making a call and you get an amygdala hijacked. Your gut starts turning. You start thinking negative thoughts and things like that. So you need to train your brain that following up on the phone or following up via email is not a threat. And I'm being completely honest here. Sometimes when I send a follow-up email that I'm not sure they're going to say yes or no, I send the email and I walk off. I walk off and walk away for 5 minutes. I don't want to see the answer. Or I get the email back and I don't open it. I don't open it and I sit there and stress it and then I open it. But I've started building a tolerance because like 7 years ago, I'd be completely shitting myself. But as you build a tolerance to it, it becomes easier and easier to do, because the hardest single action is typing in the number and actually calling. Once you're on the call, you should be okay. So we need to practice that motion and have more and more simulation, but in a way that doesn't have a tangible effect, because the first few times you're going to do it, you're going to suck. But I would highly suggest that you find someone to work with, whether it's a counselor or just someone in a group that you're friends with, to hold you accountable for this. Send them a proposal and then the next day follow them up. And if you don't follow them up, get them to call you and go, oh, just seeing, try and get them to stimulate them being a business owner and you talking to them about it. Trust me when I say that you'll never be comfortable with it, but you can build a very high tolerance to it. And you need to treat it as a life or death thing. If you're wanting to run a business and you're wanting to run an agency like this, you need to know how to sell. You need to get a tolerance to selling, because even the automated tools and all the outreach stuff, eventually you're going to have to communicate with the client. It has to happen. So if you can build a healthy tolerance to it, it becomes something that you just get kind of used to. And I am kind of used to it now, even though I'm not comfortable with it. I'm kind of used to it now. Same with cold calling. I hate cold calling, but I am kind of used to it now. I have built a tolerance to picking up the phone and speaking to a stranger. And the way I did that is by talking to strangers. It's networking helped a lot with cold call reluctance. And yeah, I think if you can do that, and I think if you can build into your day, practicing following up, then you can slowly transition to doing a few customers and following up a few customers. Because for you to ask this question, there is a tangible, I know I should be doing this versus, and I know it's costing me money versus I'm not doing it. So, be results driven and go like, this is an investment. The hour I'm spending a day doing this is an actual return on investment scenario. I'm going to get a return on investment the better I get at this. And take the emotions out of it and go, put it this way, right? If you were in the military and they told you, okay, well, you need to learn self-defense, but you don't like getting hurt, you're going to be like, okay, well, I better learn self-defense, because when I'm in a war zone and need to be able to do it, I need to be able to do it, even though I'm going to get hurt. It's the same sort of scenario. You kind of have to treat it as a life or death thing and go, when I'm on a call and my family's livelihood depends on me following this up properly, I need to get better at it. I need to get over my fear of being told that I'm not going to get it if I call. And how do I do that? By practicing and building a healthy tolerance to it. So hopefully that's helped. If you have any questions like Nate did here, thank you for the question too, by the way, leave it in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. But guys, hopefully you found that helpful, and I will catch you all next week.